Hey everyone, my name is Kennedy Terror, and as you all know, throughout this course I have implemented two motivational theories. As a result of implementing these, I wanted to talk about what I learned and how change and motivation take time. I want to ask, have you been trying to gain motivation for something, or are you a teacher trying to motivate your class, but you're not seeing much progress? Well, there's good news. It just takes time. Don't give up if results aren't automatic. Keep trying, and results might be sooner than you think. For this presentation, I am going to go over two motivational theories that I used in my life and explain the results from each. The two theories that I used were causal attribution theory and goal orientation theory. These theories were implemented to people who I am close to in an attempt to motivate them towards a specific task. After I go over each one, I will talk about how they tie together and how these can be used in the classroom. I will also provide 4 motivational strategies based off of these theories. So to start off with, I wanted to talk about what motivation can do based on what I learned throughout this course. Motivation can increase desire or drive, change avoidance to approach, bring about positive attributions, and allow individuals to view themselves as capable. And this one is especially important because as teachers, we want students to view themselves as capable of success. The first theory that I implemented was causal attribution theory. Causal attribution theory relates to individuals' experiences with events and how those events affect their behavior and thoughts. And it consists of 3 dimensions, which are locus, stability, and control. So I applied this theory to my boyfriend because he was unmotivated to complete his coursework. So I figured I could apply this theory and motivate him to complete his coursework. And this coursework that I'm referring to was not college coursework, but rather it is work for his job. And this coursework could benefit him in his future. However, he does not necessarily need to do it right now. And so I believe that that was a factor affecting his motivation. So based on the causal attribution theory, his lack of motivation was contributed to internal, stable, and controllable factors. I applied motivational efforts based on the theory in an attempt to get his motivation to internal, unstable, and controllable factors. And these are the factors that we want students to have in the classroom. I wanted to get his stable attribution to unstable because according to Dr. Brett Jones, internal, controllable, and unstable factors attribute to skills or knowledge that is temporary or situational for an exam. And at the end of completing his coursework, he will have to take an exam. So I was seeking the internal, unstable, and controllable factors. He was experiencing a motivation to continue on, so to motivate him, I sought out extrinsic motivations and reminded him that his effort to study was only temporary. The results were that he expressed motivation and even came up with a plan on how to get all courses done in a timely manner. So the second theory that I implemented was goal orientation theory. Goal orientation theory refers to an individual's motivating factors for participating in an activity and their approach and response to the activity. And it consists of performance orientation and mastery orientation, which are then divided into 4 categories, which are performance approach, performance avoidance, mastery approach, and mastery avoidance. And so I applied this theory to my mom to motivate her in using technology in her classroom because she expressed to me that she avoids using it. And so based on what I learned, my mom was exhibiting a performance avoidance goal. She was avoiding using technology. And I applied motivational efforts based on this theory in an attempt to get her from a performance avoidance to a mastery approach goal. And the ways that I motivated her were based on the acronym TARGET, which consists of task, authority, recognition, grouping, evaluation, and timing. So I encourage my mom to become more familiar with technology simply by just using her laptop more and to consider the knowledge that she has gained already from using her iPhone. And this theory is one that I would have liked more time on because I think that I could have seen maybe different results or even more results from this theory. And as I mentioned before, change sometimes just takes time and is not always automatic. But ultimately, I am just wanting my mom to be more prepared and more motivated and confident in going into this upcoming school year and using the technology in the classroom. And so you might be wondering, how do these two theories tie together? Well, causal attributions, which again are experiences and how those experiences affect behavior, can influence goal orientations. For example, say you have a student who fails a test. They might attribute that failure to internal, stable, and uncontrollable factors. Contributing failure to stable causes means results won't change and their failure will likely continue on. And contributing failure to uncontrollable causes means it was out of their control. This is very discouraging for students and a mindset that we do not want them to have. This could even lead to performance avoidance goals or mastery avoidance goals because they do not want to seem less knowledgeable than other students in the class. But you could also have a student who fails a test and they could contribute that failure to internal, unstable, and controllable causes. Since they contribute their failure to unstable factors, this means that they know change is possible. And since they are contributing it to controllable factors, this means that they are in control. This can even lead to mastery approach goals because the student is motivated to do better next time and gain more knowledge. And so now I wanted to talk about implications for the classroom, and these implications are based on what I have learned throughout the semester dealing with these two theories. So number one is simple, just motivate students. Students need to be motivated throughout the whole semester, not just the beginning, but motivated throughout the whole semester just to do their best and try their hardest and know that success comes from their effort, not their intelligence, which I'll speak about that more so on the third bullet point. And then number two, seek internal, unstable, and controllable attributions. An internal attribution means that the student is doing it themselves. Unstable means that it is not permanent. For example, if they receive a failing grade, that failure is not a permanent failure, but they can change it next time. And controllable attributions are within the student's control. And so we want students to have this mindset because this will affect them. This will affect their motivations and their goals, because going back to the student who failed a test, if their attributions are stable, then they might think that they're just going to fail the rest of the test throughout the whole school year. But if it's unstable, this failure could motivate them to try harder, to gain more knowledge, and do better next time. And then the third is do not tie success to intelligence, but rather effort. As teachers, we need to speak to students and praise their effort. We do not need to tie their success to their intelligence because this could be very unmotivating for them. And when we tie it to effort, this can actually be motivating to them because this is something that they can control, and this is something that they can change, and this is something that can grow over time. So students might see their intelligence as something that they might not have control over and is unchanging. And so we just want to not see success based off of intelligence, but we need to really encourage that effort in students towards success. And then remember that change is possible for all students. This kind of goes into what I was just talking about, how effort can lead to success, and how this is possible for all students in the classroom. Here are my 4 motivational strategies based on these 2 theories. Based on the causal attribution theory, like I've mentioned many times this presentation, success is tied to effort, not intelligence. As teachers, we really want to tie students' success to their effort, not their intelligence, because this can motivate students to do their work hard, and they can see the results with their grades. This is also something that students can take with them throughout all of the grades and throughout their life, knowing that hard work and dedication can lead to great results. For example, say a student is very knowledgeable in a subject in 2nd grade. However, as they get older, that subject will advance. And if they think that success is tied to intelligence, they can become very discouraged when the more advanced it gets, the harder it gets for them. But if they know success is tied to effort, then as the subject advances, their effort can advance with it, and they can continue to make those good grades. And then the second strategy based on causal attribution theory is look at extrinsic rewards for students. This can be something simple as motivating them with a sticker if they get a good grade on a test. Allowing them to have a reward for success or a good grade can motivate them to perform well and to do well with their grades. And then based on goal orientation theory, develop a not yet mindset. This will really help them know that if they fail something the first time, it's okay because they're just not there yet, but change is possible and they can get to that point with more time and with effort. They can get to that point. They just might be at the not yet point yet, but that not yet signifies hope for the future. And motivate students to ask questions in class. Students need to know that students do not know everything. And I know personally, I have not wanted to ask a question in class because I had a performance avoidance goal. And I believe many students have this same goal because they do not want to seem less knowledgeable than other people in the class. But these students need to be reminded, and just the whole class just needs to be reminded that nobody knows everything. And raising their hands and asking a question can even help another student learn more information. And like I had been told many times, someone else in the class might have that same question. And so a student raising their hand and asking a question not only helps them learn more information, but also helps other students in the class learn more information as well. These theories can be used for different types of learners. It is important to know the type of learner that you have so that you can successfully implement these theories to them. So for an English language learner, they might come into the school year with a performance avoidance goal or a mastery avoidance goal. With the right instructions, this student can end the school year with a mastery approach or performance approach goal. Using the acronym TARGET, as I mentioned earlier, will be very helpful in implementing this theory to learners. Students with exceptionalities and gifted students, their instruction will be different, and it's important to know who your students are. It is important also to hold each student to a level of success and challenge them to do their best. And for culture, students come from different cultures, and it is important to implement strategies that students are comfortable with. This is to create a safe and welcoming classroom that can really help students perform their best. To end this presentation, I just wanted to include some tips if you wanted to implement these theories in your own life, and include some things that I would have done differently. So number one is have patience. Results and change are probably not going to be automatic, and as teachers, this is something that we need to remember. These theories will probably need to be implemented over an extended period of time, and so just remember that when you're trying to motivate students or encourage students, just have patience with them and give it time. And that goes into number two, manage time wisely. With me implementing these theories, I had a time frame really for both of them. And so that affected my results, I would say, a little bit, since it was in a limited time frame. However, in the classroom, time can be dispersed wider than what I had. And so I would manage my time wisely. If you're wanting to implement these theories, don't suppress time to just one specific time frame, but let it be spaced out, so to see true and good and advanced results. And don't give up. If students are not showing motivation and they're not encouraged, this goes with having patience. Don't give up. Keep trying. Keep motivating them. Motivation should not just be at the beginning of the school year, but it should be implemented throughout the whole school year. And you can use the motivational strategies that I included and just continue implementing those and don't give up. And then I would research causal attribution theory and goal orientation theory, because if you're wanting to implement these, this was a short presentation and there is much more information over these theories, and researching them yourself, you might find different strategies. You might want to implement the theory in different ways. So I would just encourage to do your own research and learn about it and just implement these theories in your own way. Here are my references with this presentation, and thank you so much for watching.